Commander Vex Thull of the Galactic Survey Fleet stared at the holographic display with growing excitement. After 3 cycles of monitoring the small blue planet, they'd finally intercepted what appeared to be critical intelligence. "Analysis complete, Commander," chirped Lieutenant Kree, her antennae quivering with enthusiasm. "We've decoded their communication protocols. According to our data, this species' dominant life form is called Karen, and they possess the remarkable ability to summon higher authorities at will." Vex Thull nodded slowly, his 3 eyes narrowing in concentration. The intercepted transmissions showed these Karens wielding tremendous power, demanding to speak with managers who apparently controlled entire territories called stores. The footage was undeniable. Humans cowered before these fearsome beings, scrambling to fulfill their every demand. "And what of their military capabilities?" Vex Thull asked. Kree pulled up another set of data. "The humans appear to engage in a ritual combat called Black Friday. Our observations show them trampling each other for resources, displaying shocking aggression and coordination. They seem to value rectangular devices called TVs more than their own safety." The bridge crew murmured in concern. A species willing to sacrifice themselves for technology was formidable indeed. "There's more," Kree continued. "We've identified their primary sustenance, a substance called pumpkin spice. Between the months of September and November, consumption increases by 847%. We believe it may be a performance-enhancing compound, possibly addictive." Vex Thull stroked his chin thoughtfully. "And their leaders?" "Ah, yes. Their governmental structure is fascinating. The planet is ruled by celebrities, beings who have accumulated something called followers. The one with the most followers holds supreme authority. Currently, a person who posts pictures of their food appears to be in the top tier of leadership." The tactical officer, a burly creature named Grax, rumbled forward. "Commander, we've also detected a concerning phenomenon. The humans have small furry creatures called cats that they worship extensively. Millions of images and videos suggest these cats control human behavior through a form of mind control. They force humans to provide food, shelter, and constant attention." Vex Thull felt a chill run down his spine. "Mind control? This is worse than we thought." "Indeed," Grax agreed. "And there's evidence of a second form of manipulation, creatures called dogs, that seem to have made humans their servants through emotional warfare. The humans willingly pick up their waste." The commander stood, his decision made. "Prepare a full report for High Command. This planet harbors a sophisticated species with powerful leaders, dangerous rituals, mind-controlling animals, and a mysterious substance that drives their economy. We'll need to approach with extreme caution." As the crew dispersed to their tasks, none of them noticed the small text at the bottom of their intercepted transmissions, "For entertainment purposes only." The invasion plan was already taking shape. Ambassador Thalnix prided herself on thorough research. As head of the Cultural Research Division, she'd spent weeks analyzing Earth's social structures before the delegation would make first contact. Unfortunately, her primary sources were Reddit threads and TikTok videos. "Colleagues," she announced to her team, "I've made a breakthrough in understanding human social hierarchy." Her assistant, Morp, leaned forward eagerly. "Please share, Ambassador." "The humans have a complex caste system based on employment. At the bottom are baristas and retail workers. These unfortunate souls are subjected to constant abuse by the ruling Karen class we've previously identified. In the middle tier, we have middle management, who apparently exist solely to schedule unnecessary meetings." She pulled up a series of memes. "And at the very top, we have the CEOs and influencers. These beings work 0 hours per week yet accumulate vast wealth. I believe they may possess telekinetic powers." Morp took notes frantically. "Fascinating. And their mating rituals?" "Extremely complicated," Thalnix replied, scrolling through dating app screenshots. "They perform elaborate deceptions called catfishing, where they present false images of themselves. The ritual begins with something called swiping right, followed by cryptic messages that often go unanswered. Successful mating requires navigating a minefield of red flags and toxic traits. Another researcher, ZYX, raised a tentacle. Ambassador, I've been studying their food culture. It appears humans have a bizarre relationship with meals. They photograph every dish before consumption. We believe this is a religious practice, perhaps thanking their gods on a platform called Instagram. Excellent work, ZYX. What else? They consume something called avocado toast which, according to their elders, prevents them from purchasing dwellings. It must be powerfully addictive. Also, they have heated debates about whether a hot dog is a sandwich. This philosophical question has divided their civilization for years. Thalnix nodded gravely. These are clearly a people of deep intellectual pursuits. Morp interjected, I've analyzed their greeting customs. When meeting, humans say, how are you, but become disturbed if you actually answer honestly. The correct response is always fine or good, regardless of actual circumstances. It's a form of ritualized lying. Intriguing, Thalnix mused. And their weekends? Ah, yes. Humans spend exactly 5/7 of their existence longing for the remaining 2/7, which they call the weekend. During weekends, they perform recovery rituals called brunch, where they consume eggs and alcohol simultaneously while complaining about Monday approaching. ZYX pulled up more data. There's also a phenomenon called Mercury retrograde. During these periods, all human technology fails and relationships collapse. We should avoid contact during these astronomical events. The team spent hours compiling their comprehensive cultural guide. They documented the sacred nature of Wi-Fi passwords, the mysterious power of IT turning it off and on again, and the human obsession with asking strangers on the internet to identify spiders. One final note, Thalnix said. Humans have a tradition called New Year's resolutions where they lie to themselves about future behavior changes. These promises last approximately 11 days before being abandoned. This suggests either remarkable optimism or severe memory problems. The report was complete. First contact would surely go smoothly with such detailed cultural knowledge. Junior Scout Plix had been chosen for the greatest honor, becoming the first of his species to walk among humans undetected. After 6 months of preparation, he felt ready. The biomorphing technology allowed him to assume human form, and he'd memorized every detail from the cultural briefings. He materialized in a place called New York City at rush hour. Greetings, fellow human. Plix announced loudly to the crowded subway platform. I too enjoy breathing oxygen and standing upright. Several commuters glanced at him briefly, then returned to their phones. Plix took this as acceptance and continued. Yes, I am definitely human. I have 2 eyes, which is the correct number. My skin contains no scales whatsoever. He smiled widely, showing what he thought was the appropriate number of teeth. He'd added extra to be safe. A woman in a business suit edged away from him. Plix interpreted this as a courtship gesture based on his research about humans enjoying personal space. He followed her. Excuse me, female human. I wish to engage in small talk about the weather. Is it not weathering very weatherly today? The woman walked faster. Plix consulted his cultural database and remembered that humans bonded over complaining. Yes, this Monday is very Monday-ish. The traffic is trafficking heavily. My boss is very boss-like. Finally aboard the train, Plix sat next to an elderly man reading a newspaper, an ancient ritual his briefing mentioned. Hello, elder human. I see you are absorbing knowledge through your paper tree slice. I too enjoy knowing things about the events. The man lowered his newspaper. You okay, buddy? Yes. I am experiencing okayness at optimal levels. Plix gave an enthusiastic thumbs up, but forgot to put his thumb down, holding it up for the entire conversation. I am heading to do human activities such as working for currency and consuming coffee beans. The old man chuckled. You on something? Plix panicked, consulting his database. This must be a reference to transportation. Yes. I am on this subway vehicle. It is very vehicular. Exiting at his stop, Plix spotted a Starbucks, the temple where humans worshipped the coffee gods. He entered confidently. Hello. I wish to obtain one coffee beverage, he announced to the barista. Sure, what size? Plix froze. His briefing hadn't covered sizes. He made a quick decision. I would like the human-sized coffee. Tall, grande, or venti? Yes. Plix said enthusiastically. All of those sizes simultaneously. The barista stared. So, 3 drinks? That is correct. I am very thirsty from all the breathing I have been doing. When asked for his name, Plix remembered humans had simple designations. My name is Person McHumanface. Waiting for his order, Plix observed other humans. They all stared at glowing rectangles. He pulled out his holographic communicator but quickly disguised it as a phone when someone looked over. Person for McHumanface, the barista called. Plix grabbed all 3 drinks. Thank you, beverage preparation specialist. May your day be adequately average, as humans prefer. He settled at a table to file his report. His first day among humans was going perfectly. They'd completely accepted him as one of their own. The woman at the next table was even taking pictures of him, probably because he was so convincingly human. Actually, she was live streaming him to TikTok with the caption "NYC is wild, y'all." By evening, Plix had gone viral. Supreme Leader Crothmac convened the Emergency War Council with a sense of urgency. Holographic displays showed Earth from multiple angles while his top advisors assembled around the obsidian table. Gentlemen, ladies, and non-binary entities, Crothmac began, his voice resonating through the chamber. We stand at the precipice of our greatest challenge. The humans are more formidable than any species we've encountered. General Vorp, his battle armor gleaming, slammed a fist on the table. We should strike now, Supreme Leader. Our intelligence shows they're distracted by something called Wordle. Patience, General. Crothmac pulled up a chart. Our Psychological Warfare Division has identified several weaknesses we can exploit. First, humans are severely debilitated if they don't receive their morning coffee. We could sabotage their coffee supply chains. Admiral Kesh nodded thoughtfully. Brilliant. And according to our research, they become even more vulnerable on Mondays. If we time our attack for a Monday morning before coffee, they'll be defenseless. There's more, added Intelligence Director Flux. Humans have a critical vulnerability in their infrastructure, something called Wi-Fi. If the Wi-Fi signal drops even briefly, they become completely disoriented. We've documented humans wandering in circles, holding devices above their heads in apparent distress. Crothmac smiled. Excellent. What about their defensive capabilities? Flux continued, minimal. When confronted with danger, humans primarily respond by recording videos on their phones. In 89% of observed emergencies, they prioritize documentation over survival. We could literally land in their backyards, and they'd ask if we're part of a marketing campaign. What about their military? Vorp demanded. Disorganized, Flux replied. Their soldiers spend most of their time doing something called, hurry up and wait. They also have a tradition of making their beds to exact specifications, which suggests misplaced priorities. Most concerning for them, their equipment is procured through something called the lowest bidder. Crothmac studied a video of humans. What's this footage? That's called a team-building exercise, Supreme Leader. Companies force employees to play trust games and do obstacle courses. It appears to be a form of corporate torture that somehow builds loyalty. Fascinating. And their weapons? General Vorp pulled up a weapons analysis. Primitive but numerous. They have something called guns, which they're very attached to. However, their citizens spend more time arguing about guns than training with them. Also, their emergency response number is 911, which takes several minutes to respond. We could complete our invasion before anyone official arrives. What about their unity? Kroth-Mak asked. Flux laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Non-existent. They're divided into tribes called fandoms that war endlessly over entertainment products. We've documented conflicts over Star Wars, Marvel vs. DC, and something called pineapple on pizza. They expend more energy fighting each other than defending against external threats. Their governments? Paralyzed by bureaucracy, Admiral Kesh reported. Any decision requires filling out forms in triplicate, committee meetings, and something called getting approval from legal. By the time they organize a defense, we'll have colonized half their planet. Kroth-Mak stood, his decision made. Prepare the fleet. We'll initiate contact next Monday at 6 a.m., before the coffee shops open. Simultaneously, we'll disable all Wi-Fi signals. The humans will be too disoriented to mount resistance. What about their leader? Someone asked. According to our intelligence, their leaders change every 4 years through a popularity contest. The current one will probably just tweet about us. We have nothing to fear. The council adjourned, confident in their inevitable victory. None of them had considered that humans might be dangerous precisely because they were unpredictable, resourceful, and really didn't like being invaded before their morning coffee. That would be their first mistake. The mothership descended over Times Square at exactly 6 a.m. on a Monday. Supreme Leader Kroth-Mak watched through the viewport as their vessels blocked out the sun, casting shadows over the city. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Deploy the Wi-Fi disruptors, he commanded. Throughout Manhattan, internet connections died. Kroth-Mak waited for the chaos. Instead, he watched as humans simply kept walking. Many didn't even notice, already distracted by their own thoughts or anxiety about the workweek ahead. That's odd, muttered Flux. They should be panicking. Kroth-Mak activated the universal translator and broadcast his message across all channels, humans of Earth. We are the Vortaxian Empire. We demand your immediate surrender. Resistance is futile. We have studied your species and know all your weaknesses. Silence. Then a man in a food delivery uniform looked up, shrugged, and continued walking. A woman in scrubs glanced at the massive alien ship, checked her watch, and hurried toward the hospital. Are they ignoring us? Admiral Kesh asked incredulously. A voice crackled over the communication system. Yeah, hi, this is the NYPD. You guys got a permit for that? You're blocking traffic. Kroth-Mak blinked all three eyes in confusion. Permit? We're invading. Right, yeah, but you still need a permit. Take it up with City Hall. And you're gonna need to move that thing by 8 a.m. for the morning rush. Down on the street, a man had set up a folding table and was selling t-shirts that read, I survived the alien invasion and all I got was this lousy shirt. How is he already? Kroth-Mak began. Supreme Leader, interrupted a sensor technician. Multiple humans are approaching the landing site. Finally. Prepare defensive positions. Vorp barked. But the approaching humans weren't soldiers. They were tourists with selfie sticks. Yo, is this like a Marvel movie thing? One asked excitedly. Is that CGI? It looks so real, another gushed. An elderly woman with a thick accent pushed through the crowd. You call this an invasion? I lived through the blackout of '77. Come back when you got something scary. Kroth-Mak decided to make a show of force. He exited the ship with his elite guard, weapons drawn. Surely this would inspire fear. A teenager looked up from his phone for half a second. Dope costume, bro Comic-Con. I am Supreme Leader WrongHFY. I have conquered 17 star systems. Cool, cool, the teen replied, returning to his phone. You got an Instagram? A street performer dressed as the Statue of Liberty, painted entirely in silver, approached WrongHFY and struck a pose next to him. $5 for a photo, folks. Real alien, very authentic. I am a real alien. WrongHFY roared. A woman dropped $1 in the statue performer's bucket. These guys are really committed to their act. General Vorp was having his own issues. He'd drawn his plasma rifle to intimidate the crowd, but someone had put a coffee cup in his hand. You look like you need this more than me, said a barista on her way to work. Vorp stared at the cup, confused. He took a sip. His eyes widened. What is this divine elixir? Venti latte, extra shot. You're welcome. Within an hour, the invasion had completely derailed. A hot dog vendor was doing brisk business with the alien troops. Someone had started a food truck parked next to the mothership. A group of humans was teaching the Vortaxians how to play basketball at a nearby court. WrongHFY slumped against his ship, defeated. This isn't how conquests are supposed to go. A police officer approached. Listen, buddy, I don't know what kind of event this is, but you're creating a hazard. I'm gonna need you to wrap this up. But, the invasion. The officer sighed. File it with the mayor's office. Next. The mighty Vortaxian Empire retreated to their ships, thoroughly confused and slightly caffeinated. Back aboard the mothership, the Vortaxian leadership was in crisis mode. WrongHFY had called an emergency meeting, and the mood was grim. How did this happen? He demanded. Our intelligence was supposed to be perfect. Intelligence Director Flux shuffled through reports nervously. Supreme Leader, I'm discovering some inconsistencies in our source material. For instance, we based 47% of our psychological profile on something called memes. I'm now learning these may not be factual documents. You think? Vorp snapped. He was still holding the coffee cup, now empty and precious to him. Ambassador Thalnix stepped forward. I may have made errors in my cultural analysis. It appears Reddit is not an official government database, and TikTok videos may be exaggerated for entertainment purposes. You think? WrongHFY thundered. A junior analyst timidly raised a tentacle. Supreme Leader. I've been reviewing our surveillance footage of Scout Plix. Humans were not accepting him as one of their own. They were laughing at him. The room fell silent. They pulled up Plix's viral videos. Currently sitting at 47 million views with the hashtag #SubwayCreature. Oh no, Flux whispered. We've become a meme. WrongHFY collapsed into his command chair. Explain to me, in simple terms, what we got wrong. Thalnix pulled up a corrected analysis. Well, Karens aren't actually the dominant species. They're just difficult customers. The managers they summon aren't territorial warlords. They're just supervisors in retail establishments. And Black Friday? WrongHFY asked weakly. A shopping sale. Humans do get aggressive, but it's not military training. They're just really enthusiastic about discounts. The coffee addiction? Actually, that part was accurate, Flux admitted. They genuinely are dependent on it. But it doesn't grant superpowers. Vorp interrupted, what about the mind-controlling cats? Cats are just pets. Cute animals. The humans choose to serve them because they find them adorable. But the millions of images. The internet likes cats, sir. That's all. WrongHFY rubbed his temples. Okay. What are humans actually like? Thalnix brought up new data. They're remarkably adaptable and resilient. When faced with the unknown, they don't panic, they improvise. They've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and they invented reality television. Nothing phases them. They're also incredibly diverse, Flux added. We assumed they'd have unified command, but they're fragmented into hundreds of nations, thousands of cultures, millions of individual perspectives. You can't predict them because they can't predict each other. And their weapons? Vorp asked. Primitive but effective. However, their real strength isn't military, it's cultural. They'll make movies about us. Turn us into merchandise. Within a week, there will be action figures and Halloween costumes. They weaponize capitalism. Admiral Kesh pulled up economic data. Speaking of which, that food truck by our ship. It made $3,000 in 1 hour. The t-shirt vendor made $5,000. The humans saw an alien invasion and immediately monetized it. Krothmak stared at the numbers in disbelief. They're making money off us? Supreme Leader, a communications officer interrupted. We're receiving calls from something called Hollywood. Multiple studios want to option our invasion story. There's also a talk show host requesting an interview, and someone named Jimmy wants you to play a game called Charades on television. This is madness, Krothmak muttered. Flux brought up social media analysis. The humans are divided in their opinions of us. Some think we're a hoax. Others want to clap alien cheeks, which I don't fully understand but seems positive. Many are disappointed we're not the sexy aliens from their entertainment programs. There's a petition to send us back because we're mid. Mid? Krothmak repeated. It means mediocre. Sir, we're receiving a 1-star review on Yelp. The Supreme Leader stood, his decision made. We need a new strategy. Clearly, traditional invasion won't work. We need to understand these humans properly this time. What do you propose? Vorp asked. We do what humans do when they're confused. Krothmak pulled up a search engine. We Google it. 3 weeks after the failed invasion, Krothmak sat in a New York coffee shop, wearing his human disguise, much better than Plix's attempt, genuinely trying to understand Earth. Across from him sat Marcus, a philosophy professor who'd befriended the alien leader after a chance encounter at a bookstore. Let me get this straight, Marcus said, stirring his cappuccino. You studied us for months, but only through social media and viral videos? In retrospect, that may have been insufficient, Krothmak admitted. Marcus laughed. That's like learning about fish by only watching them be thrown at the Seattle fish market. You're seeing a performance, not real life. But your species is so contradictory. Krothmak protested. You're simultaneously sophisticated and childish, brilliant and foolish, united and divided. How do you even function? Welcome to humanity, Marcus grinned. We're a walking contradiction. We sent people to the moon while arguing about whether the Earth is flat. We invented the internet and use it primarily for cat videos and arguments. Over the past weeks, Krothmak had been learning the truth about humans. He'd attended a community board meeting, chaotic but passionate. He'd visited a school, exhausting but hopeful. He'd spent time in homeless shelters, corporate offices, farms, and hospitals. Each experience shattered another assumption. What surprised you most? Marcus asked. The kindness, Krothmak said quietly. In our observations, we saw conflict and division. But we missed the small moments, strangers helping each other, communities supporting neighbors, people donating time and resources to causes they believe in. He pulled out his tablet, showing Marcus his notes. Yesterday, I watched a teenager give his coat to a homeless person. Last week, I saw your medical professionals work 30-hour shifts during a crisis. This morning, a woman stopped her car to help a turtle cross the road. We're not perfect, Marcus said. Far from it. No species is perfect, Krothmak replied. But you're trying. Constantly trying to be better. You fail often, but you keep attempting progress. Meanwhile, on the mothership, the Vortaxian crew had undergone their own transformations. General Vorp had become obsessed with Earth cuisine and was attempting to make tacos. Admiral Kesh was binge-watching human television, currently devastated by the finale of a show about a paper company. Lieutenant Kree had discovered Twitter and was engaging in heated but friendly debates about sports teams she didn't understand. Ambassador Thalnix entered the recreation room where several crew members were watching a cooking competition show, shouting at the contestants through the screen. "Don't add salt yet, you fool." Vorp yelled at the TV. "He can't hear you," Thalnix said. "I know, but I have feelings about his technique." Scout Plix, who'd become an accidental influencer, was recording a TikTok explaining Vortaxian technology to his 12 million followers. He'd embraced his celebrity status and was surprisingly good at it. Back at the coffee shop, Marcus asked the question on everyone's mind. "So, what now? Are you leaving? Invading? Opening diplomatic relations?" Kroth-Mak considered. "None of the above, perhaps. We came here thinking we were superior, that we'd conquered 17 star systems and knew everything about successful civilizations. But watching you humans, you've taught me something important." "What's that?" "That success isn't about perfection or control. It's about adaptation, resilience, and the courage to laugh at yourself when you mess up." He smiled. He'd been practicing the expression. "You know what happened after our failed invasion went viral?" "What?" "Humans started making memes about how bad we were at invading. Instead of being angry, you turned our failure into comedy. You didn't see us as threats, you saw us as entertainment, and somehow that made us human." "Well, not literally, but you understand." Marcus nodded. "So you're staying? If you'll have us. We'd like to establish a cultural exchange program. We have technology and knowledge to share. You have everything else. Perspective. Creativity. Hope. Also, Vorp really wants to learn more about your food." "I think we can arrange that," Marcus said, extending his hand. Kroth-Mak shook it, another human gesture he'd learned. "Thank you." "And Marcus? I'm sorry we tried to invade you." It was a Monday. We've had worse." As they left the coffee shop, Kroth-Mak looked up at the sky where his mothership orbited, now registered with the FAA and paying taxes. Humanity hadn't been what he expected. They weren't the primitive species his intelligence reports described, nor the terrifying warriors he'd feared. They were something far more interesting, beautifully, frustratingly, wonderfully human. And perhaps, he thought, the universe was better for it. A few blocks away, a street vendor was already selling new merchandise. "I survived the alien invasion and all they got was coffee addiction." T-shirts were selling out fast. Kroth-Mak bought 3. The end.